Hello again. I'm back to discuss the year's achievement in directing. This, for a lot of people, the top two prizes this year are going to turn into a kind of a War of the Roses sort of thing, Battle of the X's, with Catherine Bigelow's Hurt Locker up against James Cameron's Avatar. And I'll give it to Bigelow. Her direction in The Hurt Locker was excellent, quite assured. This is an interesting category, though, for me this year, because I'm giving 3 of the slots to just darn good movies that were just well-directed movies. 4 of them, really. 4 of the slots. But I'm also giving several of these slots to people that I'm just pleased that what they did with the material this year. It's so horribly tempting to include Joel and Ethan Coen on the list. A Serious Man is the one that just misses the cut. There's a couple others too that just missed the cut. This actually is one of those categories that could be extended to 10 this year, and I'd be quite happy with it. But what I do have, first pick is Jason Reitman for Up in the Air. Up in the Air is an awesome movie. It's enjoyable, it's fun, the acting is incredible, the film is well pieced together, and Reitman at this point has put out 3 movies, and it's becoming apparent what a Jason Reitman film is. He is starting to have a signature touch, just like most of the other directors on this list do. Up in the Air is not as high on my list as Juno, either is necessarily a quality movie or is one that I enjoy. I do consider it definitely a better, more assured movie than Thank You for Smoking. Although I still rate Juno and Thank You for Smoking, I do rate higher, but I have only seen Up in the Air once, and both of his previous films grew on me. I loved them the first time, I really loved them the second time. So, looking forward to seeing that one again. But, number 2, another director whose films grow on me, Quentin Tarantino. I loved Inglourious Basterds the first time. I loved it even more the second time. It is his best film since Pulp Fiction. It's his film. Tarantino's movies not only have his stamp on them, it's his packaging, his postage, everything, the whole thing is Tarantino. So, he definitely deserves credit for Bastards. Third place, I'll put Where the Wild Things Are by Spike Jonze. Jones is one of the most inventive directors out there. I've always loved Being John Malkovich. I loved Adaptation. Those, of course, had probably as much to do with Charlie Kaufman and his twisted mind as Jones' invention, but this time around he teamed up with Dave Eggers and came up with an adaptation of a children's book. And I've talked about that under the adapted screenplay, but a great deal of credit also has to go to the actual direction of the movie. It gets just the right tone for the story he's trying to tell, which turned off a lot of people because it wasn't the tone they expected from that movie, but so what? I mean, some of the great movies have disappointed on first viewing because they weren't what you expected, but if you give them a chance. Prairie Home Companion comes to mind. Next up, I'm having trouble pronouncing, aren't I? Prairie Home Companion, yes. Then we have Catherine Bigelow. I'm not as familiar with her work, but I understand that she's really good when it comes to like action, that kind of stuff. But The Hurt Locker is just a well-directed movie, well pieced together, just yeah, I give her props for that. And if it comes down to Bigelow versus Avatar, or Bigelow versus Cameron, it's easily Bigelow. I mean, there's not. I give Cameron mad props for putting Avatar together, but actually he probably should be higher on the list come to it. He should definitely be higher on my list. Sorry about that. But I think still the Avatar just to me is not quite that level of movie. You know, it's a remarkable achievement, but more for the technical things. But speaking of remarkable achievements, and I'm going out on a limb with the number 5. This guy edges out the Coens and Steven Soderbergh and Sam Mendes, Grant Heslov, Lee Daniels, Wes Anderson, not to mention Cameron. I give the 5th spot to J.J. Abrams for Star Trek, because this is what it comes down to. He took a moribund franchise that has been mocked relentlessly for years, had pretty much devolved into self-parody, and not only created a good and enjoyable entry into the franchise, he actually energized it and made it cool for a ton of people who would never have thought so before, and managed to do it without ticking off the original fan base. That's saying something. So Abrams needs to get credit where credit is due, and I think his direction of that movie is a big part of that. Credit should go also to the screenwriters, and I did point that out before, but anyway, like I said, just missing the cut, Joel and Ethan Coen for A Serious Man, Steven Soderbergh for The Informant, Lee Daniels for Precious, Sam Mendes for Away We Go, Grant Heslov for The Man Who Stared at Goats, Wes Anderson for The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Lone Scherfig for An Education, James Cameron for Avatar, and Mark Webb for 500 Days of Summer. All of those Oscar caliber direction, so it should be considered. I have to admit it's hard to tell where the direction starts and ends with animated features. It's certainly not as easy as with live action. So Pete Docter and Bob Peterson for Up and Henry Selick for Coraline get mad props from me, but probably not as much as they should. I give David Yates props for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It wouldn't have been as good had he done it the way he did Order, or had it been done by some of the other directors. Peter Jackson did do a fine job directing what was written for The Lovely Bones. Whether or not their screenplay was up to snuff, people can debate that, but the direction of the movie I thought was quite good. Pedro Almodovar did a fine job with Los Abrazos Rotos. Nora Ephron, also working from a flawed screenplay, did make Julie and Julia very enjoyable and interesting. Neil Blomkamp definitely gets props for District 9. Clint Eastwood for Invictus. I've heard it said just because he's Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I could buy that. But he is. He's Clint friggin' Eastwood. But anyway, Judd Apatow for Funny People, John Lee Hancock for The Blind Side, and Ricky Gervais and Matthew Robinson for The Invention of Lying. All excellent, solid direction. And I've just got a little bit here to mention Zack Snyder, Michael Mann, Ruben Fleischer, Oren Peli, Hayao Miyazaki, Todd Phillips, John Hamburg, Michael Haneke, Guy Ritchie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and Michael Moore. All deserve at least some attention for their respective movies. Some more than others, but anyway, I believe there's a couple other contenders I still need to see, but that's it for the director race so far. Should go to definitely should go to what am I saying, Jason Reitman. Probably will